Hi everybody, and welcome to A Case of the Jills. Fuoristrada. Lots of times people on YouTube do a video and they do it from their car, which I actually think is really dangerous. But I actually don't drive. I mean, I drive in theory, but I never drive here. So let me just tell you where we are, just so you're oriented. We are on the national park on the mountain of Portofino. So if you've heard about Portofino, I'm sure you've heard of Portofino. I mean, Kylie Kardashian spends like every summer there. I live like 3 miles from there, and actually we're going to be headed in that direction today. We're not going to go all the way down there, but we're heading in that direction. So this is my kind of like backyard. Today what I wanted to talk to you about is something I feel like it's something that we all inherently know, but it's probably not something we spend a lot of time thinking about. And that is the difference between aesthetics and athletics. So this concept, I think, informs a lot of our rationale behind our training choices. When we do any kind of sport, when we train for anything, we have a choice to make. We're either training for aesthetics or we're training for athletics. So here's what I mean by that. We all go to the gym, we see these people who are really, really muscular, right? And they have spent a lot of their time packing on muscle and really doing all of this gym work to achieve a certain type of body. It almost looks like you can do a diagram of human anatomy just like looking at these people. And then you ask someone like this to like do a pull-up or run a half a mile. And what we find quickly is that the achievement of the aesthetics, so what that person looks like, doesn't really always mean that the person's athletic ability is going to be what we would expect to see with someone with a lot of muscle development. Now, this is kind of basic stuff for exercise physiologists and people that are exercise scientists. They know that if they're training a football player, you know, someone who's going to be in the NFL, they're not looking for that guy to have a six-pack. They know that it's possible that he might, but since his goal is load-bearing, speed, intensity, explosiveness, you know, this kind of stuff, the aesthetics of what he looks like is really secondary to the goal. And we're aware of this. It's not a weird concept, particularly when we're talking about, you know, bodybuilders. Our community doesn't really embrace this concept. We are under the impression that we can be athletic and achieve aesthetics at the same time. We can run and run for hours and hours and miles and, you know, a million feet of vertical, and also achieve a body that looks like what we want it to without sacrificing anything. So, just as we know that if the NFL football player decided he was going to train for aesthetics, he would have to sacrifice a great deal of his athleticism, the same thing is true for our community. And therein lies the problem. It is extremely important that we understand this concept. I feel like that was some kind of animal. Maybe not. In our community, it's extremely important that we understand this concept. It is extremely important that we understand that if our goal is to increase, let's say, volume and intensity of training, but also we think we're going to have a particular aesthetic that goes along with it, or we're going to achieve a certain, let's say, body weight, body fat, body composition along with that goal, it's not going to work. There's going to have to be sacrifices. And unfortunately, if you're watching this, you are probably in that group of people that tried to do both at the same time and realized it wasn't possible. I told myself I was just going to come out here and have a nice chill walk with you guys and not, you know, spend hours and hours of research, but you know me, so I came out here with notes because that's the kind of goofball I am. What is wrong with me? So now, unfortunately, we had to learn the hard way that being able to achieve a certain athletic goal and an aesthetic goal at the same time isn't necessarily possible. So let's see how this might play out when we go to make our training choices. If we're making training choices based on what we hope it will do to the look or composition of our body somehow, we are very likely to make the wrong choices. And here's what I mean by that. If you get up in the morning and feel tired and you've had a pretty heavy training week and you're stressed out and you haven't slept and you maybe haven't been eating well, and you decide that it's important for you to train because you're afraid of what will happen to your body without going out there, or you start thinking about what you ate for dinner last night or what you ate for breakfast this morning, or, and here's my favorite one, what you'd like to eat after training that you feel that you won't be able to eat if you don't do that training, this is where bad decisions come in. And by the way, if you found yourself making these decisions, you wouldn't be the only one to do it. Our entire culture is set up to value someone's athletic achievements. And here's what. People typically will value athletic achievements even more if the person looks the part. So like if in achieving something athletically, you're able to make yourself aesthetically look like something that people approve of, even more kudos to you, right? So if you started to notice that you're making these choices based on aesthetics over athletics, don't feel bad. You're definitely not the only person to do this. And by the way, that's not the only stupid thing you might start doing that's not supportive to your training, but somehow serves an aesthetic goal. For example, you might be eating, but you might not be eating the right things. So this is where people start cutting out calories, certain macronutrients. People cut carbs because they're not really thinking about their performance. They're thinking about the aesthetics. They want to be an athlete, but they want to look a certain way. They want to be an athlete, but they're not really prepared to fuel properly for that. They are prepared to fuel properly for weight loss or body composition changes. Those are two different things. Now we come to the more controversial part of the conversation where you might say to me, but Auntie Jill, what about people who derive a lot of value out of achieving a particular body goal or an aesthetic goal? What about people who genuinely feel better about themselves because they are working toward aesthetics versus athletics? Well, I have to be honest with you. This is a little bit tricky because the very nature of that requires that you're trying to manipulate a system that really is fighting hard to do what it needs to do to keep you alive and healthy. And your aesthetic goal may not exactly align with the goal of your body to, I don't know, let's say, have normal hormonal function. So you may find that some of the choices that you have to make to achieve that goal may actually go contrary to what your body needs to survive. That's one thing. I can't really say that I could support that. The second part that I don't necessarily support, because I think it's a little bit ludicrous, is to try to manipulate and control an entity that is constantly changing. So you're trying to stop changes from happening in an organism that is designed to change constantly. Of course, I stopped to talk to you right in the middle of a waterfall, so let me just step over it. You've heard me say plenty of times before, a body that stops changing is a dead one. So if you're actually trying to manipulate your body, once you get it to that point, like, what do you think is going to happen? You think it's just going to like stay like that? Like, that's it? That's all you have to do? Is you have to like achieve this number, this arbitrary number that you've chosen, and then like what? It doesn't just stop there. That's not real. That's not a thing that happens. So what is the opportunity cost there? How much, do you have to work to maintain this thing in your head, this idea you have in your head? Because that's really what it is. Anyway, I'm not telling you can't try. But if you're watching this channel, you probably did. And it didn't go that well. Lots of times as athletes, we talk about sacrifice, right? We talk about in order to be a true athlete, you have to be able to sacrifice. You have to be able to make hard choices. You have to be able to get up really early in the morning and put the time in for training, and maybe, stay home from parties if you have to get up early the next morning and do a training run, or you have to, spend time away from people if you have to do what you have to do. But you know what? What about the sacrifice of what your body looks like in order to assure that your performance is going to be at its optimal? What about that? We don't like to talk about that one, do we? It's kind of the opposite of having your cake and eat it too. It's kind of like, I want the benefit of the cake, but I don't actually want to have to eat it. Of course, we're having this conversation because we know that if we start making training decisions for reasons that don't actually support our overall health, then we're likely to end up going down the path toward overtraining. Because we might be likely to train when our body really doesn't want us to, when it actually will not bring about increased fitness, increased endurance. All it will do is just continue to break the system down, because we know that overtraining comes from too much training without enough recovery. So if we are encouraged to keep training for aesthetic reasons, to burn calories only, to achieve a body goal, to achieve that body composition goal, that's where we're gonna make bad choices.
So I stopped really quick. I thought maybe you guys would like to see a little closer view of where I live. So I live, the mountain I live on is kind of that way, behind that church and farther back. And I obviously just walked to here, so it's not too far. And then if you look down, you're gonna see the town there. That's Santa Margherita Ligure. That's my actual town. And then you kind of head down the coast, and there's a bunch of different towns all the way down until you get to, which you will not be able to see through the trees there, all the way to the far right, which will end up in the Cinque Terre. And like I said, we're about a half hour down from Genoa. And yeah, kind of pretty, huh? So this is my town. Hope you like it.
And can I tell you the part that really makes me sad? If you're making these training choices based on burning calories, body composition goals, at a certain point, it's just not fun anymore. You know what I mean? Aren't we out here trying to have fun? Isn't that what we're doing? We're trying to have fun, right? So like, if you're pushing yourself to do something to the point where it's torturing you, don't do that to yourself. Long-term sustainable goals. That's what we're going for. Long-term sustainable. Not for 5 minutes while we reached a, magic body fat percentage. Life, your life, a fuller life, a bigger life, a better life, right? That's what we're doing this for. So the next time you have to make a training choice and you're not sure if you really want to go out there or if you're forcing yourself to do it, ask yourself, is it athletics or aesthetics that's getting my butt out the door today? And then you make your choice. Hope you enjoyed this video today. Hope you found the little chat helpful. Let me know if you liked it in the comments, just because this is something I haven't done in a while. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.